Part 2, Bonds Across Stars. Commander Ortega found Captain Dominic Reed exactly where he expected, in the medical bay, seated beside the recovering Vexillion. It had been 3 standard Earth days since they had defied direct orders from Admiral Blackwood, and the atmosphere aboard the UES Odyssey had grown increasingly tense. "Dom," Ortega said quietly, stepping into the sterile room. "We need to talk." Dominic looked up, the dark circles under his eyes testament to his sleepless vigil. Status update. Earth Command has dispatched the UES Valiant to intercept us. Admiral Zhou himself is aboard. They'll reach our position in approximately 36 hours. Ortega handed over a data pad containing the transmission details. "They're demanding we power down and prepare for boarding." Dominic nodded, unsurprised. "And the crew?" "Standing by you, for now. But they deserve to know what you're planning." Before Dominic could respond, a soft, melodic sound emanated from the biobed. The Vexillion was awake, her crystalline eyes focused intently on him. The medical monitoring equipment registered a spike in neural activity. Dr. Winters hurried over, scanner in hand. "This is remarkable. Her recovery rate has accelerated exponentially in the past few hours. Captain, I believe she's trying to communicate." Dominic moved closer, feeling that now familiar pressure against his consciousness, the telepathic touch he had experienced on the planet's surface. This time, however, it was controlled, deliberate. "You saved me," a voice resonated in his mind, feminine and musical yet unmistakably alien. "Why?" Dominic hesitated, uncertain how to respond to a telepathic query. "Just think your response," Dr. Winters advised, monitoring the neural interface readings. "Her species communicates primarily through directed thought patterns." Because it was right, Dominic thought back, focusing his mind on the Vexillion. "No sentient being deserves to be exterminated." The alien's expression shifted subtly, her luminescent skin pulsing slightly with what might have been emotion. "I am Thera, last guardian of the Vexillion seed vault. My people, they are truly gone." Dominic's heart clenched at the profound sorrow and dignity in her query. "I'm sorry. We found no other survivors." Thera closed her eyes, a single silver tear tracking down her face. "Then I carry the final legacy of an ancient race. I must live, Captain Dominic Reed. Not just for myself, but for all who came before me." "How does she know my name?" Dominic whispered to Dr. Winters. "Telepathic species often acquire language and personal information during mental contact," the doctor explained. "She's likely absorbed a significant amount of data from your mind during your interactions." Ortega cleared his throat. "Captain, we still have a situation to address." "The Valiant." "I know, Javier." Dominic stood, his decision crystallizing. "Call the senior staff to the tactical room. We need to determine our next move." As they turned to leave, Thera's voice once again resonated in Dominic's mind. "You risk much for me, human. Your superiors disapprove of my rescue." Dominic paused at the door. "Some things are worth risking everything for." The tactical meeting was brief and to the point. Dominic laid out their options with unflinching honesty: surrender to Admiral Zhou and hand over Thera to Earth Science Division, where she would likely become a research specimen, or defy direct orders and face the consequences. "I won't command anyone to follow me into insubordination," he concluded. "Each of you must decide for yourselves." Lieutenant Cassidy was the first to speak. "Sir, with all due respect, if we surrender the last Vexillion to ESD, we're no better than the hegemony. Different methods, same result, treating a sentient being as an object to be used." One by one, the senior officers voiced their support. Even Ortega, despite his initial reservations, stood firmly with his captain. "The Odyssey stands with you, sir. All of us." Dominic felt a swell of pride in his crew. "Then we need a plan. The Valiant outguns us significantly, and Admiral Zhou isn't known for his patience or compassion. What about the uncharted passage through the Scylla Nebula, suggested Lieutenant Harrison, bringing up a star chart. It's treacherous, but the Odyssey's maneuverability gives us an advantage over a battlecruiser like the Valiant. Dominic studied the proposed route. It could work. Plot the course. We leave in 2 hours. Later, Dominic returned to the medical bay to find Thera sitting upright, conversing telepathically with Dr. Winters. The Vexilian's recovery had progressed remarkably, her luminescent skin now glowing with vitality. Captain, Thera acknowledged him, her mental voice stronger than before. Your physician has been explaining your plan. You would become an exile from your own kind for my sake. Not exactly, Dominic replied aloud, finding it easier to speak than to focus his thoughts. We're buying time to find a diplomatic solution. Earth's leadership needs to understand what happened to your people, and what might happen to humanity if the hegemony continues unchecked. Thera rose gracefully from the bio-bed, her movements fluid and ethereal. Standing at full height, she was nearly as tall as Dominic, her slender form radiating a subtle energy that made the air around her seem to shimmer. Then I must show you something, she responded, extending a hand toward him. Something I have shared with no outsider. Dominic hesitated, then accepted her offered hand. The mental connection between them intensified instantly, flooding his mind with images and sensations far more vivid than before. He saw, through Thera's memories, the true extent of what had been lost. The Vexilians were an ancient race, having achieved enlightenment while humans were still discovering fire. Their civilization was built not on conquest or resource accumulation, but on a profound understanding of life itself. They had mastered technologies that human science could barely comprehend: cellular regeneration, consciousness transfer, sustainable energy generation that drew power from the fabric of spacetime itself. And most crucially, he saw the seed vault, a repository containing the genetic material of every Vexilian who had ever lived, preserved in a state of suspended animation. It still exists, Thera's voice resonated through the vision. Hidden beneath the surface, in chambers the hegemony failed to discover. With it, my people can be reborn, but I cannot do it alone. The connection faded, leaving Dominic breathless and disoriented. You can resurrect your entire species? Not alone, she repeated, her crystalline eyes locked with his. The process requires specific technologies and resources I no longer have access to. I need allies, Captain, allies with courage and conviction. Allies like you. Something shifted between them in that moment, a recognition of kindred spirits despite their vast biological differences. Dominic felt drawn to her wisdom, her resilience, her quiet dignity in the face of unimaginable loss. The Odyssey and her crew are at your disposal, he promised. It is not just your ship I need, Dominic Reed, Thera responded, a new intensity in her mental voice. It is you, your insight, your determination, your humanity. For the first time since their encounter, Thera initiated physical contact beyond necessity, her fingertips brushing lightly against his face. The sensation was electric, sending a shiver of connection through Dominic that transcended the physical. Captain to the bridge, Lieutenant Harrison's voice cut through the intercom, breaking the moment. We're approaching the Scylla Nebula. The journey through the nebula proved even more perilous than anticipated. Cosmic storms battered the Odyssey, while gravitational anomalies threatened to tear the ship apart. At Thera's suggestion, they modified the shield harmonics to resonate with the nebula's unique energy signature, providing additional protection. Working side by side through the crisis, Dominic and Thera developed a synchronicity that the crew couldn't help but notice. They anticipated each other's thoughts, completed each other's sentences, moved in a dance of perfect coordination. What had begun as respect was evolving into something deeper, a connection that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Winters observed this development with scientific curiosity. The neurological compatibility between you two is unprecedented, she remarked during a private moment with Dominic. Her telepathic field has adapted specifically to your brainwave patterns. It's almost as if. As if what, Doctor? Dominic prompted when she hesitated. As if your minds were made to connect, she finished quietly. I've been studying Vexillian physiology from the data Thera has shared. Their species forms lifelong telepathic bonds, usually with a single chosen partner. Captain. I believe she's bonding with you. The implications of this revelation left Dominic reeling. A bond between species had never been documented, let alone one so profound, so intimate. That night, unable to sleep, Dominic found himself drawn to the observation deck. The swirling colors of the nebula created an otherworldly tableau against the viewport. He was unsurprised when Thera appeared beside him, her luminescence complementing the cosmic display outside. You are troubled, she observed, not a question but a statement of fact. Dr. Winters told me about the bonding process, Dominic replied directly. Is it true? Are you forming a life bond with me? Thera's gaze remained fixed on the nebula. It was not intentional. Such bonds cannot be forced or manufactured, they simply are or are not. I did not expect to find such compatibility with a human. And what does this bond mean, exactly? Among my people, it would signify a union of equals, a sharing of mind, spirit, and purpose that transcends all other connections. She turned to face him fully. Does this disturb you, Dominic Reed? He considered the question carefully. Not disturbed. Overwhelmed, perhaps. In all of human history, we've never encountered anything like this. Then perhaps it is time for human history to embrace new possibilities, Thera suggested, her mental voice carrying an emotion Dominic hadn't detected from her before, hope, tinged with an unmistakable affection. As they stood together, watching the cosmic ballet outside, Dominic realized his life had changed irrevocably. The connection he felt with Thera defied logic, transcended species, and challenged everything he had been taught about the universe and humanity's place within it. Beyond the nebula lay uncertainty. Admiral Zhou and the Valiant would eventually find them, and Earth Command would demand answers. But in this moment, on the precipice of something profound and unprecedented, Dominic Reed knew he had made the right choice on that devastated planet. Some connections were worth risking everything for. Part 3, Defiance of Worlds. The Odyssey emerged from the Scylla Nebula into uncharted space, its hull scarred by the passage but its crew intact. Captain Dominic Reed studied the unfamiliar star patterns on the navigation display, trying to determine their best course. The nebula's gravitational fluctuations pushed us off our projected trajectory, Lieutenant Cassidy reported. We're approximately 12 light-years from the nearest charted Federation outpost. Dominic nodded. That gives us some breathing room. Any sign of pursuit? Negative, sir. The nebula's interference is masking our trail. However, I wouldn't count on that advantage lasting more than a few days. Commander Ortega stepped closer, lowering his voice. Dom, we need to discuss our next move. The crew is behind you, but we can't run forever. Before Dominic could respond, Thera entered the bridge. Her presence immediately commanded attention, not just because of her alien appearance, but because of the quiet authority she projected. The crew had quickly grown accustomed to her presence among them, many finding her telepathic communication more efficient than traditional methods. There is another option, she suggested, addressing both Dominic and Ortega. My people maintained hidden outposts throughout this sector, sanctuaries designed to be undetectable to other species. The nearest is only 3 days from our current position. Dominic considered this. A safe harbor would give us time to formulate a proper strategy. More than that, Thera continued. These outposts contain technologies that might help us access the seed vault safely. And the outpost's communication array could allow us to bypass your military command structure and speak directly to your civilian leadership. The decision was unanimous, they would make for the Vexillian outpost. As the Odyssey changed course, Dominic couldn't help but notice the subtle changes in his connection with Thera. What had begun as discrete telepathic exchanges had evolved into something more fluid, a constant awareness of each other's presence and emotions. Dr. Winters monitored these developments with professional interest. The neurological entanglement is strengthening, she explained during her daily report. Your brainwave patterns are beginning to harmonize with hers during periods of close proximity. Is it dangerous? Dominic asked, though he already knew he wouldn't terminate the connection even if it was. Quite the contrary. Your overall neural efficiency has improved by 17%. You're processing information faster, requiring less sleep, and showing enhanced intuitive reasoning. If anything, the bond appears beneficial to human physiology. That evening, Dominic and Thera shared a meal in his private quarters, a quiet ritual they had established over the past few days. She had no need for human food, sustaining herself through a process she described as energy synthesis, but she enjoyed the social aspects of dining together. Your Dr. Winters is fascinated by our bond, Thera observed, her mental voice carrying a note of amusement. She's a scientist. Unprecedented phenomena are her lifeblood. Dominic smiled. I can't blame her curiosity. What's happening between us defies everything we thought we knew about interspecies relations. Thera's expression grew thoughtful. Among my people, such bonds were considered sacred, not just a connection between individuals, but a joining of cosmic energies. The fact that it can form between our species suggests a deeper universal truth about consciousness itself. That we're not as different as we appear. That perhaps the universe itself yearns for connection across the artificial boundaries we create. Thera extended her hand across the table, an invitation Dominic accepted without hesitation. The contact deepened their connection instantly, and Dominic felt a rush of emotions that weren't entirely his own: wonder, gratitude, and something more intense that defied simple categorization. It wasn't merely affection or attraction, but a recognition of complementary energies, of two beings who somehow made each other more complete. Thera, he began, struggling to frame his thoughts into words. I need to understand what this means for both of us. On Earth, relationships between commanding officers and, well, anyone under their protection, it's complicated. In my culture, bonds form where they will, without regard for status or circumstance, she replied. The universe has its own wisdom in such matters. Their moment of connection was interrupted by the ship's alert system. Captain to the bridge, Lieutenant Harrison's voice came through the intercom. We've detected an unidentified vessel on an intercept course. The unidentified vessel proved to be a hegemony scout ship, smaller than their military cruisers but still heavily armed and clearly designed for pursuit. It had detected the Odyssey despite their stealth protocols and was closing rapidly. They must have been patrolling the nebula exit points, Ortega theorized grimly. Waiting for us to emerge. Dominic assessed their options quickly. We can't outrun them, and we can't outgun them. Tactical, what's our status? Shields at maximum, weapons hot, Lieutenant Cassidy reported. But sir, their technology is significantly advanced. Our simulations suggest our conventional weapons would be largely ineffective against their defenses. Thera stepped forward, her expression resolute. There is another option. The Vexilian outpost I mentioned, it's equipped with a planetary defense system designed to repel hegemony attacks. If we can reach it before they overtake us. How far? Dominic demanded. Less than 6 hours at maximum warp. Dominic made his decision instantly. Lieutenant Cassidy, set course for the outpost, maximum warp. Engineering, I need everything you can give us. The chase that followed pushed the Odyssey to its structural limits. The hegemony vessel fired repeatedly, each shot degrading their shields further. Engineering teams worked frantically to maintain warp integrity as the ship shuddered under the assault. In the final approach to the outpost, a small, apparently barren moon orbiting a gas giant, their shields failed completely. A direct hit to their starboard nacelle sent the ship spinning out of control, emergency systems blaring as they tumbled toward the moon's surface. Brace for impact. Dominic shouted, gripping his command chair. The crash landing was brutal but survivable, the Odyssey's reinforced hull preventing catastrophic decompression as they skidded across the lunar surface. When the ship finally came to rest, nearly half the systems were offline, including weapons and propulsion. Status report, Dominic demanded, helping a fallen crew member back to their station. Multiple injuries reported throughout the ship, but no fatalities, Ortega confirmed. Primary power is offline. We're running on emergency reserves. The hegemony vessel. Landing approximately 2 kilometers east of our position. They're deploying ground forces. Dominic turned to Thura, who stood calmly amid the chaos. You said this outpost has defenses. How do we activate them? Follow me, she responded, already moving toward the emergency exit hatch. The outpost entrance is not far from our crash site. Dominic assembled a small team, himself, Ortega, Dr. Winters, and 2 security officers. As they emerged onto the lunar surface, the desolate landscape revealed no obvious signs of civilization. The atmosphere was thin but breathable, the gravity slightly less than Earth standard. The entrance is concealed, Thura explained, leading them toward what appeared to be an ordinary rock formation. Vexillian technology is designed to integrate seamlessly with natural environments. Upon reaching the formation, Thura placed her palm against a specific configuration of crystals embedded in the stone. The ground beneath them shimmered and became transparent, revealing a descending pathway into the moon's interior. The outpost within was a marvel of bioorganic architecture, structures that seemed to grow naturally from the surrounding rock, pulsing with the same luminescence as Thura's skin. Advanced technology was integrated so seamlessly with the environment that it was often difficult to distinguish where natural formations ended and technological constructs began. The defense system is this way, Thura guided them through winding corridors to a central chamber dominated by a crystalline console. As she interfaced with the ancient technology, Dominic received an urgent communication from the Odyssey. Captain, Lieutenant Cassidy's voice crackled through his communicator, the hegemony forces are advancing on our position. They'll reach the ship in minutes. Thura worked quickly, her hands dancing across the crystal interface. The system requires time to fully activate. It was designed to remain dormant for centuries without degrading. Outside, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. The Odyssey's remaining crew had established a defensive perimeter, but they were outmatched by the hegemony's advanced weaponry. Casualty reports began coming in, each one weighing heavily on Dominic's conscience. We need another option, he insisted. My crew is dying out there. Thura hesitated, then made a decision. There is one alternative. The outpost contains a direct neural interface designed for Vexillian consciousness. Through it, I can manually activate the defense systems, but the process requires channeling massive amounts of energy through my consciousness. It is, not without risk. What kind of risk? Dominic demanded. Neural overload. Possibly fatal. Her crystalline eyes met his. There is no other way to save your crew in time. Before Dominic could protest, Thura had already connected herself to the interface, a crystalline structure that enveloped her form in pulsating energy. Her body arched in apparent pain as the connection established, her consciousness expanding to encompass the entire defense network. Through their bond, Dominic felt echoes of what she was experiencing, the overwhelming flood of data, the struggle to direct immense energies with precision, the mounting pressure threatening to shatter her mind completely. Acting on instinct rather than reason, he reached for her hand, establishing physical contact with her illuminated form. The moment their skin touched, their bond flared into something transcendent, a complete melding of consciousnesses that distributed the neural load between them. Together, they became the defense system. Through shared perception, they targeted the hegemony forces with precision, disabling their weapons and communications without inflicting casualties. The lunar surface lit up with pulses of energy that rendered the invaders harmless, frozen in stasis fields until they could be properly contained. When it was over, Dominic and Thura collapsed together, their minds still intimately entwined. What they had shared went beyond anything either species had documented, a complete union of consciousness that had forever altered them both. You could have died, Thura's voice resonated in his mind, stronger and clearer than ever before. So could you, he responded, not bothering to speak aloud. Their communication had evolved beyond such limitations. I couldn't let you face that alone. In the days that followed, as the Odyssey's crew repaired their ship using Vexilian technology and prepared for the inevitable confrontation with Earth Command, Dominic and Thera explored the depth of their new connection. They discovered they could communicate across vast distances, share sensory experiences, even access each other's memories with unprecedented clarity. More significantly, Thera discovered that the combination of their consciousnesses had unlocked previously inaccessible sections of the Outpost's database, including detailed protocols for safely activating the seed vault and beginning the restoration of her species. It was never meant to be done by a single Vexilian, Dominic realized as they studied the ancient information together. The process was designed to require a bonded pair. Yes, Thera confirmed. My people believe that new life should only emerge from connection and unity, never from isolation. This is why I could not have succeeded alone. The arrival of the UES Valiant came sooner than expected. Admiral Zhou, rather than sending an armed boarding party, requested permission to come aboard the Odyssey with a small diplomatic team, a surprising development that Dominic cautiously accepted. In the conference room, Admiral Zhou revealed the true reason for his mission. Captain Reed, your actions have inadvertently uncovered something far larger than you realized. The massacre of the Vexilians wasn't a random act of hegemony aggression, it was part of a coordinated effort to eliminate specific advanced species throughout this sector. You knew about this? Dominic demanded, anger rising within him. Not until after you disobeyed orders, Zhou admitted. Your transmission to Admiral Blackwood triggered a security protocol that brought certain classified intelligence to my attention. There's a faction within Earth Command working with the hegemony, trading technology and strategic information in exchange for Earth's safety. The revelation sent shockwaves through the room. Thera, standing at Dominic's side, received the information with remarkable composure. They believe submission will save them, she observed privately to Dominic. They do not understand the hegemony's true nature. We know that now, Admiral Zhou continued, apparently unaware of their silent exchange. The information you've gathered about the Vexilians and their technology has proven that the hegemony has no intention of honoring any agreement. They systematically eliminate any species that might one day challenge their dominance. So what happens now? Dominic asked cautiously. Earth Command has authorized me to offer you and your crew full amnesty. Furthermore, they've approved a joint human-Vexilian initiative to restore the Vexilian species and establish a formal alliance against the hegemony threat. It was more than Dominic had dared hope for, official sanction for everything he had risked his career to achieve. Yet he sensed Thera's hesitation through their bond. There is something he is not revealing, she communicated privately. His mind holds reservation. Dominic addressed the unspoken issue directly. And what about Thera and the bond we share? Earth Command must be aware of it by now. Admiral Zhou's expression revealed his discomfort. There are concerns about the implications of such deep integration between human and alien consciousness. Some in the scientific community are suggesting the bond should be studied under controlled conditions. You mean separated and examined like lab specimens, Dominic translated coldly. The potential benefits to humanity are irrelevant, Dominic cut him off. This bond is not a technology to be reverse-engineered or exploited. It's sacred to the Vexilians and now to me as well. A tense silence filled the room. Finally, Admiral Zhou sighed. I suspected you might take this position. That's why I brought this. He placed a data crystal on the table. Official recognition of your bond as a protected diplomatic union, with all the rights and privileges that entails. Earth Command doesn't like it, but they need this alliance more than they need to satisfy their scientific curiosity. The journey back to Earth unfolded differently than anyone had imagined. The Odyssey and the Valiant traveled together, not as captor and prisoner but as equals on a mission of profound importance. The seed vault was carefully retrieved from the devastated Vexilian homeworld, its precious contents secured aboard a specially modified section of the Odyssey designed by Thera herself. As they approached Earth, Dominic and Thera stood together on the observation deck, watching the blue planet grow larger in the viewport. Their bond had continued to evolve, developing nuances and depths that neither had anticipated. "Your world is beautiful," Thera observed. "I see now why you fight so fiercely to protect it." "It's your world now too," Dominic reminded her. "At least until we can establish a new home for your people." "Our people," she corrected gently. "What we have begun here transcends traditional definitions of species and identity. The children of the Seed Vault will be born into a universe where humans and Vexilians walk together as allies, perhaps even as family." Dominic contemplated this profound truth. What had begun as a rescue mission had evolved into something that would reshape the future of two species and potentially the balance of power throughout known space. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked suddenly. "Forming this bond with me instead of another Vexilian, once your people are restored?" Thera turned to face him fully, her crystalline eyes reflecting the light of his home star. "The universe has its own wisdom," Dominic read. "Our bond exists because it was meant to exist, a bridge between worlds that perhaps needed bridging more than either of us realized." As Earth filled the viewport, Dominic recognized the truth in her words. Their connection had defied every convention, challenged every assumption, and in doing so, opened possibilities that neither species could have imagined alone. It was no longer about defiance or rescue. It was about evolution, the natural progression of life finding new ways to thrive across the vast emptiness between stars. In saving the last Vexilian, humanity had unknowingly taken its first step toward a greater destiny among the cosmos. And as Thera's consciousness brushed lovingly against his own, Dominic knew with absolute certainty that whatever challenges awaited them on the planet below or among the stars above, they would face them not as captain and refugee, not as human and alien, but as something new and powerful, a union of worlds that the universe itself had sanctioned.